Hi there. I've just recorded a video about the practical wireless magazines that I picked up at the Harwell Radio and Electronics Rally in February, and I just thought, actually, this being the first kind of weekend of lockdown in the UK, I mean, what absolutely horrendous situation we find ourselves in, the whole world. I mean, it's just to say it's a tragedy, just understating it. I can't even find words to describe what's going on now, and the fact that we're basically everyone's under lockdown. In the UK you're not allowed to go out unless you have to go to work. You can't work from home, and you can go out and exercise once a day, go to the doctors or go food shopping, but you should do that as little as possible. Basically, there's the very strong message is stay at home as much as you can to avoid the virus spreading. We're quite fortunate as radio aficionados, because obviously our hobby, unless you go out on a DX-pedition, can be well, most of the time we're at home anyway, and so I just thought to give anyone a little bit of inspiration in terms of what I'm doing right now today, the first weekend of lockdown. Apart from I put a wash load on, which is now in the dryer. I've taken the time this morning, and the first thing I've been doing is I've got two Wellbrook loops, and I've noticed the past few weeks that one of them is performing way better than the other. And by that, what I mean is that the noise floor on one of them is just significantly higher, several dBs, always several dBs higher than the other, and to the point really where it wasn't usable. And I've swapped I swapped loops around with the actual antenna interface, and I swapped cables, etc., and couldn't figure it out. So having free time on my hands today, I put the SDR Play RSP DX away, and I got out the RSP Duo and plugged one of my laptops into a screen, and I'm running both receivers with a Wellbrook loop attached to each other. And right now this is actually 153 kilohertz, so this is actually on long wave radio antenna Satellor. And as you can see, well, what I've actually done, I did this, and then I actually replaced a cable, a BNC coaxial cable in the shack. Now I thought I'd already done it, and maybe I replaced one cable for another dodgy one, I don't know, but I replaced a cable with one that Dennis Walter from Benito had sent me, and it sort of seemed to resolve the problem. Now if you look here on long wave, you can see actually that this Wellbrook loop, the noise floor is very slightly lower, but the signal to noise here measured at 8, 9, and here with a slightly higher signal noise floor. I've tried to make the gain settings almost identical, but then it's quite difficult to make them exactly the same. They're in the same position on the slider, but basically I've got a signal to noise of about 10, and this is on long wave. But if I crank it up and go on to HF, find a signal somewhere. What's that? There you go. Don't ask me what this actual station is, I'll have to look it up. And let's go the same, 6085, 6085. Let's see that, audio filter, make it about the same. So now on HF, if you see that the noise floor is basically identical, in fact the noise floor now on this loop might actually be slightly higher. And so here we have a signal to noise of sort of 15, 14. Obviously it's a moving target, and the same here, 14, 15. This one's now 15. So basically, identical performance, and that's the beauty of having an SDR with two tuners. If I zoom in on this one. Okay, no, that's correct. I'm trying to do is zoom in and out to make these look identical. That's better. Right. So you can actually see, there you go. That's about it. So now you've got two signals that with the right same level of zoom sort of basically look identical, but in the end it's all down to signal to noise, and it's a moving number but basically the same, and they're next to each other out in the garden. So there you go. So that's what I've been doing on the first morning, early afternoon of the weekend of lockdown. The other thing I've been doing is I've been listening to a net on 80 meters this morning. It's from some UK guys talking about stuff. Corona did get mentioned, but nice to hear that they didn't actually labour on it, and they actually used the opportunity to be on the radio to talk about other stuff. I know that it obviously is the main issue right now that everyone's thinking about, obvious reasons, but there you go. So a bit of ham radio, a little bit of tinkering with my magnetic loops, and at some point I'll actually listen to the radio, but I get my washing finished first. So anyway, so there you go. If you've got a few receivers and a bit of time on your hands, which obviously a lot of us have this weekend and probably will do for many more weeks to come, the hobby of radio, well, it's the perfect hobby when you're stuck at home, because as I said, unless you go out on a DX-pedition, which is not allowed, there's 100 things that you could be doing, even if one of them is just literally listening to the radio or tuning for DX. So the other thing I'm doing is that I'm still way behind on uploading videos from Australia. Some of these, about half of these, are from Brisbane when I was still there. And I've recorded some more since then. So that's a bit of time. Takes a bit of time actually. Probably people don't realise there's quite a lot of effort in recording, making the recordings, transferring them onto the computer, uploading them to YouTube, writing the title and description, and putting the time and date and all the rest of it in, and making it interesting. So that in itself is, you know, a bit of a job, and to have a sort of few hours spare today is helpful as well in that respect. So so there you go. So there you go. That's what I'm doing today. Saturday morning, early afternoon, first weekend of lockdown. Listen everybody, it's a nightmare out there. It's an absolute disaster, but let's do, the only thing we can do is stay at home, because that's the best thing. Do what the government tell us to do. Don't panic shop. There is plenty of food to go around. And if we all do the right thing, hopefully we can come out of the other side and with as little loss of life as, well, the minimum loss of life. Yeah, that's all I can say on it, you know, but just everybody, be safe. Thanks.